Happening now, European Union leaders traveled into a war zone to meet with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A bold move for the leaders of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia. What happened there in that meeting? We'll take you live to Kyiv. Moments away from that, I believe Sarah Williamson, our correspondent, standing by live now with the very latest there in Kyiv. Sarah, what can you tell us?
Well, Sean, last hour I said I thought that meeting might have actually been over, but it seems like it still might be continuing, that meeting between the leaders of Poland, Czech Republic and Slovenia. But what I can actually tell you is that this morning there was another round of meetings, negotiations between Russia and Ukraine today, and there was an announcement from President Zelenskyy just moments ago announcing that Ukraine now has to recognise that it will not be joining NATO. I'll read the statement from him, actually. He has now said that we realise that Ukraine will not become a member of NATO. We understand this. We are reasonable people. Kyiv needs new formats to interact with the West and separate security guarantees. So I believe that heading into this meeting with his European counterparts, that there will be a fresh set of agreements that they will be now reassessing, with that NATO, that push to join NATO now put off the table. So it'll be interesting to see what does come out of that meeting there, Sean and Emma.
Yeah, Sarah, thinking about that, one of the biggest sticking points, at least that we know of, as far as President Putin of Russia goes, that he has made public, is that he did not want Ukraine to have that ability to join NATO. Now, per your report from Zelenskyy saying he understands it, recognizes that they will not be joining NATO, that country will not. Does this show any glimmer of hope that maybe this invasion could end sometime soon?
Look, I believe it does. I think this is a positive step towards potentially ending this war. Zelenskyy has been absolutely adamant that he will not be giving up any Ukrainian territory, no matter what the Russians put on the table. But I think if it means not joining NATO is the exception that he would have to make in order to come to any form of agreement with the Russians, I think that would be a step that they would be willing to take in order to bring peace to this country, because this is a minor insignificance for them to not have that security in order to get Russian troops off the ground and to stop losing the lives of civilians here. So I think that this is a positive step towards peace between the two countries. We can only hope to see what comes out of this meeting later on today.
But, you know, Sarah, when we look at Ukraine and we've seen where Putin's forces have invaded from the south, from the east, obviously from the north coming down, trickling towards Kyiv. But obviously you're in Kyiv and you can kind of paint the picture. Many Americans obviously don't know how large Kyiv is. There still is business as usual as cars are going behind you. I can see people strolling on a sidewalk behind you. Have there been any advances of Russian troops towards Kyiv proper?
There is not a single Russian troop inside Kyiv proper. I need to make that clear. I made this statement on air a couple days ago because you hear on other US media outlets, you hear reports of Russian troops have made it into Kyiv, and they don't actually clarify that Kyiv is a territory. There's a difference between Kyiv City and Kyiv Oblast. So there is areas of Kyiv which still is where there is plenty of Russian troops. We're talking about areas like Irpin and Hostomel and Bucha. That's still considered Kyiv. But where I am right now, no, there's no Russian troops. This is still a city that is still just operating with people going out on the ground and going and, going for walks with their family. I can walk around on the ground right now quite peacefully and be very safe because this city is incredibly fortified and there is military that are protecting it very, very well. But there is still strikes on this city because the only way that the Russian military is to be able to hit it is to hit it with missiles going from the outside. So there is no troops on the ground here, but the city itself is still being hit by cruise and ballistic missiles who have been firing it towards it from the outside.
Got it. Yeah, obviously a serious situation all around. However, it's very important for context to understand exactly what's happening, again, in Kyiv proper, where you are, where you pointed that out, and we appreciate that. Sarah Williamson joining us live from Kyiv. Thank you.